All right, go ahead. You just got your wing shot off.
Okay, got my wing shot off. Our training paid off because you don't think much of except what to do when you have an emergency like that. So I blew my canopy and reached over, and luckily, at that time, we used to have what they call seat parachutes. You know, the seat was designed for a parachute that you sat on the parachute. And when you bailed out, then you waited and then opened it up. But then the English came up with this new parachute. It was backpack. And the backpack was, much improved over the seat pack. Seat pack, you'd have to wait until actually you got out and clear of the airplane before you could pull it. Little did I realize, I was only about 150 feet in the air when I jumped out. And I did this because I just unfastened everything except my my radio and all my harness on my face. And at the last minute, I had to tear that off of my face. And I pulled the ripcord on the English suit, leaned forward, pull it, and it sucked me right out of the airplane. I hit my empennage, my tail, when I bailed out with my leg. And I didn't know that I had been hit with flak or anything like that. So when I bailed out, I took 1/4 of a swing, and I was on the ground with my parachute. Thing that made me do this was I was lucky because I was still going a tremendous amount of speed, and I just went, when I bailed out, it went forward, my body and the parachute. And the parachute just slowed me down and swung me to the ground, and that's all it did. And luckily I landed in an open farmyard. It was a cultivated yard, farm field. And it looked like the furrows were about 2 feet deep, and I just couldn't get running at all. I landed, got rid of the parachute, and started to run. And then before I knew it, I could hear shooting over my head, so I knew that they were shooting at me. So I stopped and looked around, and here was 2 guys out there with their burp guns. They'd fired for me to shot. I don't know what would have happened if I'd have kept running. Probably would have shot me, but at any rate, I stopped, put up my hands, and they came up to me, looked me over, one guy just started to peel off. He took my wristwatch and took every ring I had that I wore, and went in, didn't take. I had a scapular, which is up there on the wall, and a little prayer book, which is up there on the wall. And my dog tags, of course, and I got those. And he didn't take those. He pulled them out and looked at them because apparently that part of Bavaria was all Catholic, And these guys must have been Catholic or something because, okay, we'll put that back. And the other guy searched me all over and said, boy, there's something missing. Well, I said, well, here, this is my escape kit, And he just didn't look on the right side. We had it in an invisible pocket, so to speak. We had this interior pocket that we could seal off in the flight jacket, and you kept what they call escape kit in that. It was a box about 6 by 6, and it had all the stuff that would come back. You'd be surprised the stuff that they had in it. Well, he took that away from me too. So the only thing I was left with was the scapular and the stuff, the religious items he didn't take. And then he turned around and he said, get this, in pure, perfect English, where's your 45? And I said, I was shocked, I turned around and said, I never carry one. And he said, what do you mean you never carry one? I said, no, I was either going to come back from a mission or don't come back from a mission. I never thought about an interim period. And he said, oh, shit. And he said, I wanted a 45 for a souvenir. English, perfect English. They had their 2 burp guns, and they led me away anyways. And these 2 guys were the artillery guys on the 88 battery from which I just got through shooting and bombing up. They tried to take me into this little town. Don't know the name of it. And then I had my what would you call them, entourage, so to speak, of civilians coming in from town to greet me. and with all kinds of rakes and shovels and stones and everything. And I had these two guys, and I knew what was happening because we knew what the ones you had to look out for actually were the civilians. They killed more guys than the uniformed guys did, really, when they kept you. Because, you had bombed or shot up their town, and I could imagine how they felt. But anyways, they were hitting me with rakes and shovels and all, pounding me and hitting me with a rock and so on, and they beat me up pretty bad. And finally, one guy just shoots off his burp gun and said something in German like, "Okay, back off, you've had your fun." So they did. They backed away because I guess they would probably shoot him. End up taking me into this little town next door, and I wasn't in too good a shape at that time, and I didn't have any headgear at all. I had my combat boots on. I had OD's trousers, the GI trousers, and tucked in on my combat boots, and I had a black jacket or black shirt on, with the pilot wings just tattooed or not tattooed but embroidered on them. No rank. I didn't wear any rank at that time. I didn't medical. What the heck? It didn't make any difference. And that's all that I really had as far as identifying me. They didn't know what rank I was or anything, except when they asked me information or later on they interrogated me, that the name, rank, and serial number is what you gave. Anyways, they took me into town, like a church this was. I guess it was a town hall. And there was this guy, tall guy, dressed in German uniform, light, like summer wear. This was in February, colder than hell. And the rest of my clothing was just this flight jacket with that shirt. Shirt and trousers, a flight jacket, and the boots. That was the extent of my clothing. And I was freezing. And the lieutenant, or I think he was lieutenant, no, he was a captain. That was this guy in this uniform. And shorts he was wearing. He was Hitler Youth, I learned later. And he was the big boss of the Hitler Youth that apparently controlled some of these little towns. And I think he was part SS trooper, too. He muttered a lot of things, back and forth. I thought, okay, what are they going to do? When are they going to shoot me or whatever? And they were through. They took me out, took me into the battery of all places, the anti-aircraft, 88 anti-aircraft battery that I had shot up. They took me back there, and by this time, of course, everything was gone. All the squadron, all the aircraft were gone, and they took me out there where I got some nice-looking looks from the troops. Took me into an indentation in the ground. It was just out of the ground. They had carved this, where you went down in about 10 feet. And at the back it was 10 feet, and in front it was right on the surface. I presumed that they were that this was a piece of where they kept their radar equipment, and that indicated to me that they're going to be on the move, and they were taking this out. Well, they put me down in there, so I'm standing there, don't know what to do, and I didn't know. I was still in shock all this time. Then I see this guy heading for me. He was in one of these big long white coats, bloody, all blood on it and everything else, where he was tending to his own troops, I guess. And I saw that and I said, okay, here comes the end, Bob. I couldn't see a weapon. He wasn't carrying a rifle or anything. So he came down, didn't say a word, took out a couple of bandages, and first time that I realized that I'd been wounded. So I had been wounded in the arm, and he fixed up, put a bandage on my arm and my leg. I didn't realize my leg was banged up and cut, gashed it when I hit the tail. Didn't realize any of this until that time. And because, he didn't say a word. Later on I was talking and somebody said, yeah, well, you were still in shock at that time, really. You weren't feeling pain or anything. So I knew that if they were going to fix me up like that, then they weren't going to kill me. And that was a relief. Eventually, they took me out of the hole there I was in, put me into a silo that was close by. Imagine they were on a farm of some kind, but they put me in opened the door on the silo, and it was nice thing about it was full of hay where I was at. and it was warm, and I was freezing, and of course sleepy as hell because of the cold. And then it was something else.